Oh, goodness gracious, you all. You were not turned on, and I've missed you so. I finished cutting out the pieces. That's all I did. But our next step is to sew these together. See where this is two colors, top and bottom. Top and bottom, okay? So we're going to lay these pretty sides together, right like this, and we're going to sew a straight stitch right across there on all these that are two pieces, his body, his arms, and his legs. Okay, so that's 5 pieces. We're going to sew all of those individually all together, and we're going to press them. Press your seams very well. Backstitch when you start and stop a seam, and I'm turning my stitch length down to probably a 1.5 because I want my stitches to be very tight, because we're stuffing it for one thing, and for the second thing, I want him to be able to have this little fox for forever. I want it to really last, and I want her to be able to wash it and dry it, because it's going to be a stuffed toy and he's going to carry it around, okay? Or at least I hope he will fall in love with my little fox and carry him around. So with all that being said, I'm making it so it can be a very, very happy little fox, okay? And I want him to be able to, like I said, carry him around. That's the reason I made him, because he's got little arms, and babies can hold on to things with little arms, with little fingers, and they can wrap their little fingers around things, and they love to hold things. So with all that being said, I'm going to take these 5 pieces over there, and I'm going to sew them together. Okay, so there's really more than 5. There's 2, 10. There's 10 of them, but we're going to sew them together, and I will be back and show you all how we line them up to get ready to stitch all of our pieces together, okay? Okay, I've got all these pinned and ready to go. The arms and the legs are pinned and ready to go. But I'm going to show you all with the body how I did this, okay? Pretty side up, pretty side down, okay? Your pretty sides together. And your seams will nest if you pressed one of them one way and one the other, and I didn't do that. Let me press this one the other way. Okay, now then, if your seams are pressed one way and one the other, they'll nest right in there together. Right here. I hope y'all can see that. You see that, how that is? Those seams will just kind of interlock right there. They'll just kind of lock together. And I'm going to put a pin on that right there. And then I'm going to come over to this side, and I'm going to make sure that these are even on this side. Okay? You just want them to nest right there together and just kind of lock themselves together right like that. And they will do that all the way across. Alright, so there's that. Now then, how are we going to lay our pattern piece on there, you're asking? I'm going to turn y'all down so you can see. See this right here? That's our fold line, and it goes right here on this seam, just like this. Just like that. Nope, I've got this upside down. That was my problem, y'all. I forgot this one goes this way. Yes, it does. Now then, let's do this again. Alright, now then. Now then, see that? We're going to lay that right on top of that seam right there. Because we've got our seams lined up there, we're going to line it up here. Therefore, it's going to be lined up like we want it, right there. Okay? Pull that pin out and put it in the middle, right like that. To hold everything together. Just like that. I hope that's, oh, that's barely. I just about didn't cut that piece big enough. Okay, now then, we're going to go over to the machine. We're not going to stitch across this bottom. We're going to leave that open. We're going to leave this open right here, okay? We're going to stitch right there, down the side, up the side. His arms and his legs will go all the way around, leaving the top portion open, okay? There's an arm. We're going to leave this open right here. All right? That's how we will sew these together. But first, we've got to make his face. So I'll meet y'all over here at the machine, and we're going to sew his face together. Okay, I'm going to read the directions, because that's where I goofed on the first one. We've done that. Making the fox for his head. Here's his head. Okay, we've got those two pieces cut for his head. And this is for his face. And we've got to sew his face piece on here, right along there. Okay? So, to do that, I need another copy of that. So, let me go make a couple of copies of this and I'll be right back. Alright, now then, we're going to take this and put it here, and this one and put it here. Try to get them turned the right way, pretty sides together. Okay, now then, let's see, we have to, okay, so this, let's make sure we've got enough room here for this. We do. I wonder if that'll work. I don't think that'll work. I think it needs to go this way. It says to cut these with a seam allowance, y'all, so let's try that, because actually that is the instructions. So, you know, let's try to go by them. I'm not one for doing that. I try to figure out another way, but I cannot figure out another way to do this. So it says to add a seam allowance. So we're going to add us a seam allowance all the way around here. Just adding about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Just like that. Okay, now then, these are pretty sides together, so I'm going to cut this out. run my seam allowance all the way around, okay? Okay, there's our head. Now then, for his face, we're going to put these back pretty sides together. Lay this on top. Pin it down. And then we're going to cut it out pretty sides with our seam allowance, okay? I'm going to leave a seam allowance all the way around it. Just like so. Okay, now then we have to transfer these lines right here, because this is what we have to match up. Okay, so we've got one right here, one right here, one right here, and one right here. Flip it over and mark them again. Right here, right here, there, and up here at the top. Okay, there are those. They're marked. Now then, let's do the same with this one. This is a heat erasable pen. I love these. They just disappear when you put heat on it. Okay, now we got that one done. Now then, for his face, we sew one of these and one of these pretty sides together right around this curve right here. And we match up all of these little lines that we just made, okay? All the way around here, match them up as we turn, okay? So here we go. You cannot pin this because it's a curve and it will not pin. You just have to sew a little bit, back stitch when you start and when you stop, and as you sew, just ease it in there, okay? Just ease it around. Raise your presser foot and keep sewing. side of his little face. With the little bunnies. Alright, and I'm going to clip this seam because it is a curve, but you just barely want to nick it. Just to give it just a little bit of room to turn and move, because like I said, we're going to stuff him and we do not want him to come apart. But right up here in this curve, you need to nick him just a little bit. I'm going about halfway in. That eases it just enough. And then we're going to press it. Okay, let's do the other one. You just want to line it up as you stitch it. The other side of his little face. Alright, now then, let's trim this. Not trim it, but just clip it just the tiniest little bit. Especially right in this curve right here. This is what gives his face its shape. Alright, now I'm going to press these. Alright, now our next step, we've got our two sides of our little face right here. We're going to put those pretty sides together, just like this. And we are going to sew right down through here, his center nose, and across the bottom of his chin. So down his nose and his chin. From his forehead down under his chin, right straight down the middle of his face. 1/4 inch seam. And we are going to back stitch when we start and when we stop. Now then, there's his little face. Look at that. Ah, look, isn't that cute? There's his little face and his nose and under his chin. Okay? Now then, we've got to do the back of our head. Okay? And for this one, we sew center line right here. Boom and boom. Right sides together. We leave this open so we can turn it right side out in a minute. Okay? So, we got to get our fabric pretty side to pretty side right here. Lay this down on here, and we're going to sew right through this piece of paper. All right, this is his head down to his thing. These are his ears up here. This is the top of his head. Now then, I'm going to cut the rest of this out, leaving a seam allowance all the way around. Okay, now then, see how easy that pulls loose? Now then, here's the back of his little head. Now let's hope we've got it. Oh, we did. Yay! We got it. They do match. Yippee. Alright, now then. These seams right here, you want them to nest. One go one way and one go the other. And they'll nest right in there. And you want to put you a pin. Right like that. The same with this right down here on the bottom. One goes one way and one goes the other. And they just nest right in there. And you put you a pin in it. And then we're going to come up through here, and you can pin it or clip it or do nothing at all. But I think I'm going to put a few clips on it. And pull all this in right around here. Get his ears. And where I added my own seam allowance, you may have one piece that's a little bit bigger on his ears than the other. And that's okay. You just need to sew where the smaller one is, and then you just trim that out. Okay? I don't like pins, they stick me. Okay, I'll take this out and put a clip on this. Right like that. And I'll take this one out and put a clip up here at the top. And then we're going to sew all the way around the edge, because you know we left this open right here so we can turn his head. Alright? We can turn his head. We're going to sew all the way around. 1/4 inch seam. right here, I'm just going to trim this back a little bit so I'll know where to sew. I'm going to go ahead and trim this one as well. Now then we've got to trim and clip all the way around these seams, all these curves. So it will turn pretty. Do not use your scissors to do this, because if you do, they're going to poke a hole, and then you're going to cry, and I'm going to cry, and we don't want to cry. If you don't have a little turner thingy like this, use your chopstick. Just make sure it's all the way around. Now, there's his little face. Isn't he cute? Look how cute he is. Okay, we're going to put him to the side for just a minute. Now then, we've already done the next step, which is to sew our pieces of fabric together. Okay? Now then, we need to sew our tail. And for this, we're just going to sew right along this line, okay? Because that is our seam line, not our cutting line. go. It just barely had enough to finish that. Let me grab another one. Maybe it won't bounce about like that one does. Who knows? Okay, now then, let's pull this off like this. Take our pins out. And trim it. Now then, this is what we're going to do. Just pull that off and it just tears right off, just like that. There we go. Now then, we need to turn this. Let me get my turners here. This is something I could not live without, you all. This is something that I use all the time. If you're making any kind of straps, if you're making anything that's small needs to be turned, this is what you need. It's called Turn It All. And it comes with 3 sizes. This one was $16.95. The first one I think I bought was $8.95 or something like that. I don't know. But the way you do it, you drop this down in. This is the largest size, and I think it'll work for this. We got our fingers crossed. You put that down in there like that. Take this, which is a rounded point, and you start pushing it just like that. And you pull it, and there you go. You've got this little tail all turned right side out, just like it's supposed to be. And then you can take your stick back down in there and kind of push it out along the edges, just like that. Now there's his little tail. It's 2-colored tail. All right, we've got his face done, and we've got his tail done. What did I do with his face? Oh, right there it is. All right, now then, we're going to do the same thing with his arms and with his legs. Okay? Just like we did our tail. And his body, too. We'll do that. I'll do the arms and legs just exactly the same way I did his tail. And I'll do that off camera. But his body, we got a stitch across here at the top. That's where his head goes. And down these sides right here. We do not stitch the bottom because this is where his legs go, and this is where we put his stuffing. This is where his arms go, and we'll add that in a few minutes as well. So here we go. We're going to stitch right on this line. Then we'll cut it out. Back stitching at the start and the stop. See, it's so much quieter with the new bobbin, isn't it? there we go. Take our pins out. And let's trim it up here. I should have left this one out just a little bit because that's what you turn back in, but I didn't. And just tear it off. Alright, let's get him turned around here. This is his little body. Here's the front. And there's the back. I'm assuming that I did that right. Yes, I did. The rounded part is for his head. Alright, now then I'm going to sew these up, stitch right here on this, leaving these open at the ends, turn them, and I'll be back. Alright, I've got all of our pieces sewn together and turned. That's a leg, that's a leg, an arm, and a body, a tail, and a head. Now we have to stuff them. And to do that, you need your handy dandy chopstick. You do not want a bamboo skewer because they're pointy. So they will pierce meat and vegetables. You want a chopstick. It's not sharp pointy on the end. Okay? And you just start stuffing as best you can. Just right in here. And it can be a little tricky to get it started. Excuse me. Alright. I'll start it with my thumb right there, just a little bit, and then you just want to take your chopstick and just poke it down in there. Just poke it down in there. And you may want this bigger end. And you just want to keep doing that until you have these fairly firm, okay? Because you want them to be fairly firm. You don't want them to be real wibbly wobbly. That's even something. And I'm using the bigger end because it seems to poke it down in there a little bit better. but use whatever works for you. Okay? I'm going to stuff these and then I'll be back. Okay, we're back. It took me a little while to get all that stuffed, to get him stuffed. It took a minute, a hot minute or two. But now we're ready to put him together. I've got him all stuffed, or almost all of these pieces. Let me press this down real quick right here. Pressing up the hem across the bottom of him right here. Okay, this is our little body. Now then, what we do with our arms, you see how they were stuffed kind of to the side, not on the very end. I'm going to push all that stuffing in there really good. And then we're going to put this on the inside of our body. Now he's still wrong side out, okay? We're going to put this on the inside right here. Y'all down here. Right like this. Put it right in there. And we're going to pin that. Right up through there. Same thing with the other arm. Here it is. Right here. Alright, now we're going to sew this. Ouch. That's the reason I hate pins. I stick myself all the time if I'm sewing with pins. Gonna go around this top right here one more time rather than cut it, just because it'll be easy. Redo a little bit of that. Because we didn't get it quite. Turn it and come back up this way on it, because I want my seams to meet, and this top one just goes off sideways all the time, so I'll come at it a different direction. There we go. Did y'all see that? You might have. Alright, now then we're going to turn him right like that. Bingo! Uh-oh, this arm didn't work. So that's when it was giving me trouble. So I'm going to come in here, turn him back around. And I stitched and stitched and stitched and stitched and stitched him. So I'm gonna turn y'all off, rip this out, because it may take a minute because they're real close together and there's like 4 layers. All right, I'll be back here in just a minute. Okay, we finally got his arms done. And I did change fabrics because I had to remake this because I cut a hole in it. I did. That's what happens when you do stuff like this. Now then, we have to stuff this. But first, before it's stuffed, I'm going to add my legs and my tail. Just to this back side right here. Okay? Just to this back side. I'm going to stitch them down very well. Okay? Stitch. I'll try to back stitch, but this didn't want to go backwards. So let's stitch it down again. Now let's add our tail. It goes in the center right there. Alright, and here's our other leg. It goes right in here. Not wanting to back up to that, just wants to go forward. I'll have to work on that. All right, now then, we're going to stuff his body. Stuff, stuff, stuff. Stuff, stuff, stuff. And this one will be kind of a lot easier because you can get your whole hand up in there. Let's see if we can pack that in there just a little bit better. We don't want him to be too hard, but we don't want him to be weak either. Alright. Now then. See, that didn't take us long at all to stuff his body. I put a little extra just for good measure. Just because we can get it stuffed in there. Alright, I don't believe I can get any more in there. I believe he's good. Okay, now then, we turned this under a minute ago when we pressed it. Okay, now then, we're going to turn this under. I think we are. Y'all, I've goofed again. Alright, here we go. We got to rip these off. Alright, I'll be back. Alright, I ripped those out. Now then, we have to turn this under. Right like this. And turn this under. Okay. And I'm going to put some clips on it. Instead of pins, because y'all know I don't like pins. Actually, let's do this. Let's pull some of that out. Turn this up. Then I'm going to sew these on again. With that turned up the way it needs to be. Okay? And then I'm going to pull a little bit more out because I need room. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull it all out. I've made this thing about 3 times, y'all. It's about run me crazy. Run me crazy. Yes, it has. Alright, turn that up. Get his leg pointed the right direction. Put it on there. There's that leg. Now let's get his tail. There's his tail. Now let's get his other leg right here. Now then, alright, let's get our stuffing back in here. All stuffed up. It's all stuffed up. Now then. Now then, here we go. Yes, perfect. Okay. Now, y'all, we're just about done with him. We are just about done with him. Look at him. His big old fluffy tail and his legs and his arms. And look, here's his head. Y'all can't see it. Look at him. He's skinny, big-headed. He's just wonky. I love him. I love all things just wonky like this. Bright colors. Fun, fun, fun. Fun, 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 fun. All right, now then we have to sew them together with our fingers. I'm not a fan of that. But I do it if I have to. I will do it. And I'm going to show y'all the way I'm going to do this. Let me grab some thread. I'm looking for button thread because it's good and strong. Set it right there. Here it is. Crafted button thread. It's good and strong right here. Good strong thread. And we're going to get us a piece right here. And we're going to double it up. And we're going to get us a needle. Actually, for this one, we're not going to double it up. Let me grab us out a needle. Y'all, I'm at upstairs. It's quiet. It's quiet outside. It's getting dark. I can hear all the bugs and the frogs. There are lots of frogs around here. And I can hear them all right now. Okay. Now then, I don't know if y'all be able to see me or not, but the way I'm going to do this is you go through the middle so that your knot's on the inside, okay? And you're going to come right back through to the middle, okay? Now then, got that secured. I might need to zoom in here, I don't know. Hoping I can do this. Let's move y'all over here. We're not working over the machine. Now then, maybe y'all can see. You're going to go into this side, right like this, on the inside. And then you're going to go into this side on the inside and pull it closed. Okay, you're just going to kind of weave back and forth, making stitches that are really close together. Pulling it up tight. Make sure you get this right here tucked in good. Alright, now I got his bottom sewed up. Look at it. Isn't it cute? Now I gotta sew up his head. It's just a little place right here on his head. Let's tie a knot in the end of our string. We just about got him finished. We're gonna put his little face on here in a minute. We're gonna do that with a Sharpie marker. Yeah, it says to use paint, but I'm just gonna use a Sharpie marker. And now just kind of lace this up right back here, just back and forth. And pull it as I go. Just pull it together as you go. Alright, now then. Okay, there's his head. Now we got to sew his head on. Same thread. And they said his head was supposed to be wobbly, and it will be because it's heavy. Okay. This is his front, and this is his front. I guess it goes about like this, right here. Let's lay it down like this right here. Now then, we can kind of see where it goes, or where I think it goes. Three big stitches in it just to kind of hold it in place. Then I'm going to go back and re-stitch it. Now then. Alright, here he is. Look at him. Isn't he cute? We got to give him some eyes in his nose. Okay, his nose will be easy because it's just a little triangle on the end down here. It says you can use embroidery floss or whatever, but I'm just going to use this Sharpie marker right here. And just color it on there with black. Alright, there's his little nose. We might need to make it a little bigger. I don't know. Let's do his eyes. And his eyes go about right here. And I'm doing this with this heat erasable so I can get them where they need to be. Let me look at his picture. That's about where these are. Yeah, how's that? His eyes look even to you. Sometimes I can see better in the thing. I think they are. Come in here with this Sharpie marker. They say to use paint, but look at him. His eyes just made him come to life. Isn't he cute? Scoot y'all back so you can see the whole thing. I'll set him up here. And his head is wobbly. Yeah, it's supposed to be. I'll hold him like this. Look at him. Isn't he precious? Our little fox. Our little fox. He's not so little, but his arms are skinny, and his legs are skinny, and his little tail. Can't you just see some little boy dragging him around like that? I sure can. Look at it. Isn't it cute? All right, y'all, that's going to be all for this one. That's going to be all for this one. That's the first of our project out of the Sewing by Heart book. We've got so many more to do. We'll be doing these along throughout the year and next year and the next and whenever, because you know me, I'm always buying new things. I'm always looking for new patterns. I'm always deciding to do something different because I can't keep focused on one thing. No, I cannot. Although I'm doing good. Temperature quilt, we're focused. Our other quilts, we're focused. But this is just a fun book. It's just got so many things in it that are fun. Just lots of fun stuff to do. And I think our fox turned out adorable. Adorable. I do. I just think he turned out adorable. So that's going to be all for this one. You all remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a video. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.